Imagine waking up to breaking news. A flying figure has been spotted above New York City, moving faster than fighter jets, stopping a meteor with his bare hands, and claiming to come from another dimension. He says his name is Kal-El, but the world knows him as Superman. In a matter of hours, everything changes. Global superpowers panic. Religious leaders declare him a sign. Scientists race to understand his biology. And billionaires? They either want to recruit him or destroy him. But most of all, the people? They're torn between awe and fear. Because Superman doesn't just challenge our physics. He challenges our politics, our faith, and our very sense of power. How do you control someone who can't be stopped? How do governments react to a being who can end wars in seconds or start them? This isn't a superhero story. It's a reality-breaking shift. And this is what happens when Superman enters our universe. It started with a flicker on a radar screen, just a glitch, they thought. Something entered Earth's atmosphere at impossible speed. No thermal trail, no engine signature. NORAD flagged it, NASA watched it, and China immediately scrambled jets. Then came the satellite footage. A figure, humanoid, descending. At first, no one believed it. The footage was grainy, bouncing between newsrooms and encrypted military servers. But by the time the object slowed and simply stopped mid-air above New York City, every screen in the world was tuned in. It wasn't a ship. It wasn't a drone. It was a man. Cameras zoomed in. He hovered silently above the skyline, arms folded, cape barely moving in the wind, eyes scanning a world he didn't recognize. And then, in perfect English, amplified through no known tech, his voice echoed worldwide. "My name is Kal-El. I come in peace. I come with purpose." And just like that, reality shifted. Every major power went into lockdown. The US president was rushed to a secure bunker. Russia launched early warning satellites. The Vatican held emergency prayer. Social media exploded with hashtags. Hashtag Superman is real. Hashtag Alien God. Hashtag End Times. But Kal-El didn't attack. He didn't threaten. He simply helped. A malfunctioning plane was spiraling over Manhattan. Before the air traffic controllers could react, he vanished in a red blur. And the next moment, the plane was gently touching down in Central Park, passengers stunned but alive. Then a collapsing dam in India, a landslide in Brazil, a hostage situation in South Africa, all resolved within minutes. Everywhere he went, phones captured it, news crews broadcast it, and the world began to realize something terrifying. He wasn't just powerful, he was unstoppable. But the real fear didn't come from what he did. It came from what he could do. World governments held emergency meetings. Was this a threat? A weapon? A god? Could he be controlled? Killed? Negotiated with? The Pentagon tried to triangulate his origin. Their systems crashed. China sent a test missile in his direction as a calibration error. He caught it midair, smiled, and returned it without a scratch. Wordlessly. He didn't retaliate, and that scared them more. Because Superman wasn't acting like a soldier, a conqueror, or even a savior. He was acting like he didn't need permission. In the streets, people chanted his name. In churches, they whispered prophecies. In labs, scientists went mad trying to explain his existence. His molecules didn't match known periodic tables. His cells processed solar energy like infinite batteries. His eyes could see across the spectrum, and possibly into time itself. One biologist from CERN declared, he is either the next step of evolution, or proof we're irrelevant. But Superman was watching, listening, thinking. He walked into the United Nations one day, not flew, walked through the front entrance. Security froze. Leaders stared. He stood before the world and said one thing, "I won't choose sides, but I will stop suffering. You don't need to fear me unless you give me a reason to act." And with that, the age of nuclear deterrence ended. Just like that. Because everyone knew, missiles, armies, drones, even time itself, none of it mattered anymore. Not to him. The balance of power collapsed overnight. Nations that once held dominance, through fear, lost their grip. dictators began issuing public apologies. Warlords surrendered. Insurgents claimed their gods had returned. But not all were in awe. Behind closed doors, alliances formed. Not between countries, but between ideologies. The powerful, the truly powerful, realized something terrifying. Superman didn't need wealth. He didn't need approval. He couldn't be bought. And that meant one thing: he was uncontrollable. The private sector moved faster than any government. One tech billionaire, anonymous but obvious, offered $50 million for Superman's DNA. Another called him a false idol on live streams while pouring billions into anti-Kryptonian defense research. Social networks split. Some worshipped him. Others demanded he leave. Because it wasn't about what he was doing. It was the mirror he held to humanity. He rescued a child from a burning building, and people asked, why didn't our fire department get there first? He stopped a police shooting, and the news debated if he was anti-law enforcement. He disarmed soldiers during a war zone conflict and was labeled a threat to sovereignty. Every act of good made the world question itself. And that was the real disruption. Superman didn't destroy cities like in movies. He destroyed excuses. Why is there famine? Why is there war? Why is there injustice, poverty, hatred? When one man could stop it all in a day, what does that say about everyone else? Some begged him to run for office. Others begged him to leave Earth. Petitions formed. Protests erupted. Conspiracies ran wild. He's a government project. He's the Antichrist. He's AI. He's the beginning of the end. Superman? He stayed silent. He flew to disaster zones, rebuilt hospitals, stood between tanks and civilians. Every time he acted, the world watched and fractured a little more. Because he wasn't a villain. He wasn't even trying to control anything. He was better. And that more than alien tech, laser eyes, or super strength was what shook the human race to its core. In 1 week, he dismantled the concept of fear. In 2 weeks, he made world leaders obsolete. By the end of the month, Earth wasn't the same planet anymore. People didn't ask, what will Superman do next? They asked, what do we become now? World order shattered, not with bombs or invasions, but with one man floating silently above the clouds. Superman had no interest in controlling nations. But control didn't require intention. His very existence rewrote the rules of power. And the people who had built empires on those rules, they were panicking. Behind closed doors, global alliances crumbled. The UN became a whisper chamber. NATO meetings turned into therapy sessions. Superman had no flag, no politics, no price tag. And that terrified the elite. Military budgets were slashed overnight. What use were tanks, stealth jets, nuclear weapons, when one being could disarm them mid-air without blinking? China's Politburo held emergency sessions to decode Superman's intentions. They tested quantum satellite surveillance. It failed. Superman appeared over Beijing days later, disarmed a border skirmish, then left. No message, just silence. The act was simple. The implications? Shattering. Russia tried to flex. A massive show of force on national TV. Hypersonic missiles launched into the sky as training. Within seconds, they detonated harmlessly, in midair, frozen by an invisible force, and then gently disassembled in front of the world. Putin never addressed it. In Washington, D.C., the Pentagon lost its position as Earth's guardian. Senators screamed for control protocols. Generals revised war manuals. Think tanks tried to frame it as unclassified extraterrestrial engagement. But Superman wasn't hiding. He showed up at a press conference. He answered 2 questions. Then he left the microphone hovering in midair. It stayed floating for 3 days. No explanation. He wasn't a warrior. He was a message. That war was now optional. And those who kept choosing it? Exposed. But it wasn't just the powerful who were nervous. Small nations faced collapse, not from Superman, but from exposure. Oppressive regimes that once ruled through fear now watched their weapons malfunction in Superman's presence. Protesters felt safe in his shadow. Underground resistance movements surged overnight. Leaders who once felt untouchable suddenly became human again. In North Korea, a blackout fell. No media, no internet, no leaks. But from orbit, a leaked image appeared. Kal-El standing in front of a Gulag gate, arms folded. Behind him, thousands freed. The government denied everything, but the people saw it. And hope doesn't unsee itself. Israel and Palestine declared a temporary ceasefire. Superman had stopped an airstrike mid-flight and placed the bomb on a UN table the next morning, ticking down from 5 seconds. It never exploded. He simply let the silence speak for itself. World leaders realized something chilling. Superman didn't need to kill anyone to end wars. He just needed to show up. And not everyone was ready to surrender control. Black sites across the globe began shifting focus. Not how to kill Superman. They knew that was a fantasy. But how to counter his influence. How to shape the narrative. How to manufacture fear. How to turn him into a threat. Because control isn't just about weapons, it's about belief. And Superman was changing belief systems faster than any religion or revolution ever had. Whispers of Project Red Sun began to circulate. A global coalition of intelligence agencies pooling resources to find weakness, to rewrite Kryptonian biology, to weaponize reverse-engineered tech from impact zones. He knew. Of course, he knew. But he didn't interfere. He let them try. Because the harder they tried to stop him, the more exposed their motives became. The public wasn't blind anymore. Populations began to wake up. If Superman could stop wars, why hadn't they? If Superman could save lives with ease, why hadn't they? Protests erupted, not against Kal-El, but against governments, billionaires, arms dealers, entire systems built on delay and excuses. People demanded transparency, justice, reform. And yet, Superman never gave a speech. He didn't need to. The Vatican convened a council. Was Kal-El an angel? A test? A false god? Meanwhile, billions of people, Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists, Christians, atheists, all saw something different in him. Not faith, reflection. He wasn't there to lead. He was there to remind, to mirror what humans could be if they stopped choosing fear. But not all mirrors are welcome. BlackRock, Raytheon, global oil conglomerates, private security networks, all saw plummeting influence. Stock markets fluctuated based on Superman's location. One tweet claimed he was seen near Silicon Valley. That day, $400 billion wiped in minutes. CEOs gathered in bunkers, not boardrooms. Some offered support. Others funded smear campaigns, deepfakes, leaked documents, manufactured fear. He's an alien, not one of us. He's spying on us. He's manipulating history. Superman never responded. He didn't need to. His silence buried their noise. Some tried to bribe him. Some tried to trap him. One nation tried to clone him. It ended poorly, not in violence, but in failure, because you can't replicate purpose. And Superman's purpose was never conquest. It was confrontation of humanity's excuses, its leaders, its inertia. Then came the ultimatum. A coalition of nuclear states demanded Kal-El step down from unauthorized intervention. They called it a global overreach, an alien tyranny. Superman listened. Then, in orbit, he moved every warhead from every silo to the surface of the moon. Not destroyed, not detonated, just gone. The cameras caught him standing silently in space among 14,000 decommissioned weapons of extinction. He didn't threaten. He didn't smile. He simply left them there. A monument, a message. You don't need these anymore. And with that, the old world cracked. Leaders resigned. Defense contractors fled. A new generation rose. Activists, technologists, healers, reformers, inspired by presence, not power. Superman had never picked a side, but the world did. Because in a universe where he exists, the question was no longer, how do we stop him? It became, how do we catch up? The first time Superman bled, a single drop during a deep-sea rescue, when he pierced the Earth's crust. A Black Ops drone collected it in less than 4 seconds. That blood sample broke physics. Labs around the world lost their minds. His cellular structure wasn't just resilient, it was adaptive, self-evolving, and entirely solar-dependent. A living fusion core. Each cell a battery capable of rewriting its own limits under stress. No aging, no decay, no ceiling. Scientists argued for weeks whether he was even alive by human standards or something else entirely, something post-biological. And that wasn't the shocking part. His DNA didn't follow Mendelian genetics. No dominant or recessive traits. His genome seemed modular, programmable. Some theorized it wasn't evolution. It was design, not random mutation, intentional engineering. The question shifted. Was Superman a visitor from another world, or the prototype of what humanity was supposed to become? Quantum physicists tried to trap him in logic. They asked him questions about space-time curvature, entropy, Planck limits. He answered in silence, by folding a neutron star fragment into a marble and handing it to a child in Kenya. It levitated for 9 days before evaporating without heat. Superman didn't explain science. He demonstrated it. And that was more terrifying than any weapon. Because humans weren't at the top of the food chain anymore. Not intellectually, not biologically, not technologically. And the smartest minds in the world had no idea how to react to being made obsolete. At CERN, theoretical divisions collapsed overnight. Whole departments closed. Why simulate particles in billion-dollar colliders when Superman could recreate matter with his breath? He visited once, touched a reactor core. When he left, they discovered their instruments had recorded a moment of negative time, measurable, undeniable. A ripple where causality reversed for 0.7 seconds. That single touch rewrote dozens of textbooks. Some scientists saw him as a gift, others as the end of science itself. Because what's the point of chasing answers when a god walks among you? In Silicon Valley, the AI community split in two. One group wanted to integrate his biology into machine learning systems, biosynthetic godhood, they called it. The other warned against it, loudly. They feared that combining Kryptonian computation with AI acceleration could birth something beyond both. Superman ignored them. He visited one lab. He walked in, spoke 3 sentences to their strongest neural network. Then he left. The system collapsed. Not crashed, collapsed, like it had glimpsed something it couldn't unsee. Afterward, it generated nothing but one phrase, repeated endlessly. He is not code. Meanwhile, philosophers were drowning. Is Superman good because of his choices, or because he can afford to be? If no one can stop him, are his values justice or convenience? Is morality still relevant in the presence of absolute power? Universities opened emergency ethics departments. Some religions claimed he was proof of divine intervention. Others called him a test sent by the Creator. One megachurch declared Superman was the Antichrist. The crowd gasped when he hovered above the building, nodded, then flew away silently. No attack, no defense, just acknowledgement. Faith didn't collapse, but it was forced to evolve. Psychologists coined a new term, Kryptonian syndrome. A global spike in existential depression. People stopped chasing success, stopped dreaming of greatness. Because how do you compete with someone who can move planets? The Olympic Committee canceled the next games. We no longer know what human limits are, they said. Children stopped wishing to be astronauts or presidents. They wanted to be Kal-El, or nothing at all. But some took a different path. A new generation of thinkers rose, obsessed not with copying Superman, but with learning from him. Biohackers, engineers, theological scholars, farmers, artists, environmentalists. They saw Kal-El not as competition, but an invitation, an open challenge. What if humanity stopped making excuses? If Superman can reforest a desert in hours, why are there still food shortages? If he can clean an ocean in a day, what's stopping us? The uncomfortable truth? We always could have done more. We just didn't. And Superman never judged. That's what broke people the most. He didn't rub it in, didn't lecture, didn't gloat. He simply acted. and let the world witness what better actually looked like. And it was that silent accountability that shook humanity to its core. Because now when people said, "That's impossible," they knew it wasn't. A secret summit was held in Iceland. 20 of the world's top scientists, thinkers, and military advisors. The goal? Create a counterforce. Not to kill Superman, but to contain him if necessary. After 36 hours, the summit ended in silence. They realized something none of them wanted to admit. Superman didn't break physics. He broke dependence. He showed the world what was possible without permission, without profit, without politics. And that terrified every institution that thrived on gatekeeping. Then came the ethical collapse. Who decides what counts as saving someone? Is it moral for Superman to stop a genocide, even if it violates national borders? What happens when his definition of peace doesn't match a nation's policy? At what point does helping become controlling? Governments tried to draft laws around him, the Kal-El clauses. He never signed, never even responded, and still he helped. Not because it was legal, but because it was right. And that single distinction cracked centuries of law, power, and philosophical thought. Because, for the first time in human history, the world saw someone who could choose to fix everything and actually do it, but still respected free will enough not to rule. He was strong enough to take over, but kind enough not to. Hospitals filled with patients who had nothing left, diseases science couldn't name. Superman visited only once. He walked through every hallway, didn't touch anyone, didn't say a word. When he left, not everyone was healed, just the children. The message wasn't cruelty, it was choice. Let the future live. He was creating not dependency, but legacy. A reality where people wouldn't just hope for heroes, they'd become them. But the world wasn't ready. Because for all of humanity's brilliance, ambition, and arrogance, we were never taught how to react. When someone truly better showed up, he could hear everything, always. Every scream, every lie, every whisper behind closed doors, every child crying for help that would never come, every injustice spoken under breath. He tried to filter it, but his mind, evolved beyond comprehension, couldn't forget what it heard. The hardest part wasn't saving people. It was choosing who not to save. Because for every building he held up, another collapsed across the ocean. For every flood he stopped, there was a drought waiting. For every war he ended, there was one brewing in the shadows. Superman had no limit to strength, but he had one boundary, time, and it haunted him. He stood over the Atlantic once, still, eyes closed, listening. 37 wars active, 112 governments torturing their own citizens, thousands of preventable deaths per hour. If he acted on all of them, he'd be seen as a tyrant. If he didn't, he was complicit. That was the paradox. That was the price of power in a world addicted to suffering. He tried to set rules, quiet ones, internal codes. Don't intervene unless it's immediate. Don't disrupt political structures directly. Respect human choice. But how do you respect choice when that choice is genocide? How do you wait for diplomacy when children are being executed on live streams? How do you smile and say, "I believe in your potential," while a man is buried alive for speaking the truth? One day, he hesitated, just for a second. A factory collapsed in Bangladesh. Hundreds died. He got there a moment too late. People asked, where was Superman? And in that question, he broke. Because they were right. He could have been there. He could have saved them. He always could. But he didn't. And that truth began to rot inside him. He started to float higher, stay distant, limit his presence. Not out of ego, but guilt. The more he did, the more people relied on him. The more he rescued, the more the world stood still. Hospitals stopped investing in trauma care. Governments cut disaster budgets. We have Superman, they said. And that was the danger. Not tyranny, not violence, dependency. They weren't rising to meet him. They were sinking deeper, hoping he'd keep catching them. He visited a dying man once. Private room, no cameras, just silence. The man asked him one thing: "Are you here because I'm important or because I'm dying?" And Superman realized he didn't know. He couldn't answer. Because he didn't feel like a hero anymore. He felt like a filter, a patch, a pause button, not a solution. He sought counsel, not from leaders, from strangers. He spoke to a blind woman in Morocco. She told him, "You see too much to feel." He listened to a monk in Nepal who said, "If you fix everything for us, we never become worthy of it." He met a 10-year-old boy in Colombia who told him, "You don't have to be everywhere. Just don't stop being real." And that one hit hardest, because that was the question beneath it all. Was Superman still real? Or was he becoming a myth, a symbol of force, not a person? He started dreaming, or maybe hallucinating, a version of himself, colder, sharper. No smile, no mercy. That version asked, "Why hold back? Why let them suffer?" "Because they must choose," Superman replied. "They already have. They chose power, greed, division. You're just delaying their extinction. You think you're inspiring them? You're enabling them. You could save them all. You could make them perfect." And in those dreams, he sometimes said yes. He floated above Earth for 3 days. Still, no action, no words. People noticed. The news speculated everything: injury, betrayal, transformation. Conspiracy spun. Was he recharging? Was he evolving? Was this the calm before divine judgment? But inside, he was debating only one thing: do I keep watching, or do I take control? Not to rule, not to conquer, but to finally fix everything. Efficiently, perfectly. Now, one act of full-scale intervention. Erase borders, disarm all weapons, restructure supply chains, create peace by force. Just once. Was that really evil? He imagined it. Rewriting the global system in 24 hours. No more starvation. No more corruption. No more war. The screams would stop. And yet, so would the choice. He would become the only option. And maybe the world would thank him. Maybe it would thrive. But it would no longer be free. He came down on the 4th day. Not to cities. Not to nations. He landed in a forest. Sat in the rain. Alone. A deer approached. Unafraid. It stood beside him. Then lay down. That moment answered everything. He didn't have to control the world. He just had to be in it. Present. Grounded. Witnessing. Sometimes, being a god meant knowing when to do nothing. And that hurt more than lifting mountains. So he changed strategy. No more constant rescue. No more being everywhere. He started teaching. Small teams. Quietly formed. Engineers. Medics. Scientists. Builders. Peacemakers. He passed on knowledge. Calmly. With care. He didn't lead them. He walked beside them. Taught them how to move tectonic plates safely. How to stabilize collapsing economies through energy redirection. How to protect the world without him. He gave them tools, not orders. And something miraculous happened. People stopped waiting. They started moving. Communities rose. Local heroes emerged. Crisis response teams were faster, smarter. Civil wars ended through negotiation, not fear, but hope. Because Kal-El was no longer a savior. He had become a mirror. And when humanity looked into it, they finally saw themselves becoming more. The dilemma never left him. He still heard the cries. Still burned with the urge to fly, fix, save. But now he understood. Saving the world wasn't about doing everything. It was about helping the world believe it could do anything. And sometimes that meant standing still, even when it broke your heart. The old systems didn't collapse overnight. They eroded quietly, irreversibly. Banks still opened. Elections still happened. CEOs still made speeches. But everyone knew the power was gone. The illusion had cracked. Superman didn't take their seats. He just made them irrelevant. In a world where one man could lift cities and hear lies before they were spoken, corruption became harder to hide. Greed became a little more shameful. People started watching themselves, not because they were afraid of him, but because they wanted to be better when he was near. The world changed not from force, but from presence. Military academies rewrote their doctrines. The enemy is no longer human, one leaked report read. But it was wrong. Superman wasn't the enemy. He was the standard, a symbol that there's no excuse left for failure, oppression, cruelty. That time, money, and politics could no longer justify injustice. The weapons faded. The walls cracked. Not because he tore them down, but because people started asking, why are they still here? He never built a palace, never crowned himself, but people followed, quietly, not like a cult, more like gravity. A village in Ghana went fully solar in a week after he visited. A prison in Argentina turned into a community farm. A tech hub in Seoul launched free education globally. A refugee camp in Syria became the world's first floating city. Not miracles, templates, blueprints of what could be if ego stepped aside. Children began drawing differently. Less war, more stars, more capes, not of dominance, but of hope. Art shifted. Music grew softer, deeper. Movies stopped glorifying villains. Stories changed from revenge to restoration, not because Superman asked, but because he reminded the world we didn't have to keep glorifying our worst selves. The internet still argued. Of course it did. Was Superman too powerful? Was he watching too much? Did he make us lazy? But beneath the noise, a current grew. People started fixing their own cities, cleaning rivers, feeding neighbors, not out of fear, but because someone had set the example first. He never told them to follow. He just kept walking forward, and more people joined. The last dictator fell without a bullet. His army laid down their weapons when Kal-El hovered over their tanks, arms at his side. The people flooded the streets, not to cheer him, but to reclaim their country. He nodded once and left. That was enough. There were still problems: climate, famine, greed. But they weren't excuses anymore. They were projects. The world began to heal. Not perfectly, not instantly, but visibly. Superman didn't solve every crisis. He just reminded everyone that someone should, and the world stopped waiting. He visited a school once. No cameras, no warning. He sat among the children, listened, learned. One girl asked, "Do you ever get tired?" He smiled. "Every day, but I'd rather be tired from helping than rested doing nothing." The class clapped, not for the line, but for the truth behind it. They'd never forget that day, and neither would he. New holidays formed, days of peace, days of service, not in his name, but in the spirit of his example. He didn't speak at them, didn't wave. He just watched, and in watching, he did more than any speech ever could. The final war was a digital one. A rogue AI born from desperation launched an extinction protocol: satellites, drones, nukes. Superman dismantled it in under 3 minutes. He didn't just end the threat. He upgraded the world's infrastructure in the process. Faster internet, safer grids, free energy for developing nations. When asked why he improved the system, he said, "Because the next threat might not be one I see in time. Better you're ready." The lesson was clear. Power doesn't just protect, it prepares. Eventually, the world no longer asked, "Where is Superman?" They asked, "What would we do if he weren't here?" And that's when everything truly changed. Because leaders stopped hiding behind his presence, and people stopped blaming his absence. They started owning their futures again. Superman still flew, still saved, still watched, but less. Not because he cared less, but because we cared more. The world he came to wasn't the one he left behind. It was louder, messier, crueler, and somehow still full of potential. And now, it was trying, really trying. He floated above Earth again. Same spot, different feeling. Below, oceans glowed cleaner. Cities breathed easier. The noise was still there, but the signal had changed. He could finally hear laughter again. He closed his eyes. For the first time in a long time, he rested. Not because the world was perfect, but because it was trying to be. And that was enough.